What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we're back with more college basketball hot takes, March Madness edition here today. If you guys want to see one more March Madness hot takes video before the tournament begins next week, let me know that down below in the comment section. We can definitely make that happen. I'm Ray Hardy, and he says this year will set the single tournament record for most upsets in a March Madness tournament, and I could definitely see this happening this season. I feel like there are a lot of really good mid-majors that could pull off an upset and go on a deep run. So I think we're in store for a crazy March Madness. We're definitely going to see a lot of upsets. Will it set the record? I'm not sure, but I am very hyped up. Our next hot take's coming in here from Strouds, and he says Oral Roberts makes the Final Four to play Houston in an all mid-major semifinal game. Now, this would be pretty fun to see two mid-majors, even though I don't really necessarily consider Houston a mid-major. They do play in the AAC conference for this one final year, and I just don't think I see Oral Roberts quite making it that far. I feel like their peak is maybe Elite 8, and even then they're going to need some help with some really good matchups to make that happen. So I'm gonna say I don't see this one happening. I definitely am a big believer in Houston making it to the Final Four, but as far as for Oral Roberts, I don't think they'll quite get to the Final Four. I could see them going on a Sweet 16 run for sure, depending on the matchups, but I don't see them making the Final Four at this point. Next one's coming in here from the Basketball Football Guy, and he says Baylor's ceiling is the Sweet 16. So he definitely believes that the Baylor Bears are going to lose early in this year's tourney, and I could see them losing in the Sweet 16 or before that, depending on the matchups. Baylor has three superstar guards that will be playing at the next level in the NBA, and Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, and Keontae George. But I definitely feel like their weakness is at the center position. So if they play a team that has a really good big, I could see them losing early on in the second or in the second round or in the Sweet 16. So this is a bold take because Baylor is a very good team. I don't believe their ceiling is Sweet 16 though, so I'm gonna have to disagree. I definitely feel like Baylor could possibly make the Final Four with the right matchups. We got one coming in here from DVsnoobs, and he says Oral Roberts will lose first round because of how hyped up they are. So a lot of Oral Roberts going on here in the hot takes post here today, and honestly, I could see, either way. Like, I could see, Oral Roberts, they're most likely going to get a 12 seed. 12s beat 5s quite a bit, but, still 5s win that matchup most of the time, like more than 50% of the time. So it all depends on matchups. Like I said, I could see Oral Roberts making it to the Sweet 16. I could definitely see them losing first round as well. Our next hot take is coming in here from Bennett, and he says there will be more Big East teams in the Elite 8 than there will be Big 12 teams. Now, this one is pretty hot considering the Big 12 is the best conference. They're gonna have 8 teams in the tourney because Oklahoma State and West Virginia both won first round yesterday. They're gonna have 8 teams in March Madness, and I could definitely see 2 or 3 of those Big 12 teams making the Elite 8 more than likely. So there's a lot of really good teams in the Big 12, whereas the Big East, yes, there are 4 teams that I believe could possibly go on an Elite 8 run, and that being UConn, Marquette, Creighton, and Xavier. But are they all 4 going to make it? I think at most the Big East gets 2 teams, and more than likely only 1 Big East team will make the Elite 8 this year. But I could see it being possible if a lot of Big 12 teams get upset a little bit early, and then also the Big East gets 2 teams in. I could see it happening, but very hot take. I'm gonna have to disagree with this one. Next up, we got one from Triple C, and he says Marquette will be a first or second round exit. Now, this is a bold take and a very hot take because Marquette, I feel like, has been the most consistent team in the Big East through conference play. But the thing is, why I kind of like this hot take at the same time is because Marquette didn't play all that great in the non-conference play, where you have a team like UConn who played amazing in non-conference. They were undefeated in the non-conference. So I do feel like Marquette could lose early, maybe in the second round, if they get the right matchup. But I still think this is pretty hot. I do think Marquette has a high probability of at least making it to the Sweet 16, but I do really like this hot take because I could see it happening. Our next hot take's coming in here from Alex, and he says Duke will make a run back to the Final Four. Now, this is interesting because Duke has not really had that much hype heading into this year's March Madness, but they are a very hot team right now. I think they're on a 6-game win streak coming out of the ACC in the regular season. They play Pitt today as I'm recording this video. We'll see if they can win that game there in the ACC tourney, but I could see Duke maybe from like a 6, 7, or even a 5 if they wind up winning the ACC tourney, making a deep run into this year's tourney. Do I think they'll make the Final Four though? I don't think so, but I could see Duke's ceiling maybe being the Elite 8. I could see them going on a run this year when a lot of people are sleeping on them. Next one's coming in here from Andrew, and he says there will be no number 1 seeds in the Final Four this year. Now, this is pretty hot. It's happened in tournaments before, but this year I just don't see that happening. Although I do see UCLA being pretty vulnerable without Jaden Clark there for the rest of the season. I do see Kansas being somewhat vulnerable throughout the tournament if they have to play a team that plays really good perimeter defense and also has a really good big man. I could see Kansas going out around the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, and I could see Bama losing early, but I do think Houston is somewhat of a lock to make the Final Four unless they get a matchup like UConn that could give them some troubles, but even then I feel like Houston could win that matchup. So I'm gonna say this is pretty hot, but I could see, I don't see any more than 2 1 seeds making the Final Four. But I do believe at least one will make it. Next up, we got one from Jamari, and he says Michigan State goes on a Final Four run, and you can never count out Tom Izzo in March Madness. I personally believe, given the right matchups, Michigan State could go on a run any given year. I feel like they could be a Sweet 16 team this year. I don't know, from the 7 seed, that's a seed that historically it could be, could favor a run in March Madness. Like if you can knock off a 2 seed in the second round, which I definitely feel like Michigan State could be capable of, I could see it happening. I could see this happening, but I am going to say it's a little bit hot because when Michigan State has had to go up against really good competition in the non-con, they played those teams very close but were unable to get it done. So that's kind of what I see from Michigan State whenever they have to play one of the top seeds. They'll play in a very close game, but they will not pick up the W. This one we got is coming in here from Botsky TV. He says A&M will make a Final Four run. And if you guys watched my latest March Madness predictions video, I actually had Texas A&M making a Final Four run, and it's exactly what I talked about there with Michigan State. The 7 seed historically, 7 and 11 seeds historically can make runs from those positions just given the seeding and given the right matchup. So I could see this happening 100%. I actually had it happen in my bracket. It all depends on matchups. A&M, a very, very hot team right now. I feel like they're underseeded at the 7 line. I like this hot take. Got 2 more here today, and our next one's coming in here from Matt, and he says Arkansas will make the Final Four. So a lot of you guys are letting me know some of your sleepers for the Final Four here in your hot takes, and Arkansas was a team that 2 weeks ago I was very high on maybe being able to make a deep run, maybe even make the Final Four. But the way that they have been playing lately, I'm very, very much down on them right now. If they can beat Auburn here today and go on a little bit of a run here in the SEC tourney, I might get back on the Arkansas hype train. They have the talent there to be able to go on a run, but just the way that they've been playing lately, this is a very hot take at this point in time. I'm going to have to disagree. And our last hot take is coming in here from I Like Uconn, and he says Houston will be upset in the second round. Now, here's the interesting thing about this hot take. Every year, at least one of the 1 seeds usually loses in the second round. However, I don't believe it's going to be Houston. Houston are my favorites to win the national title this season at this point, so I'm gonna have to disagree. But if that were to happen, That would be a crazy bracket buster for not only me, but for a ton of people across the world, and it would be an amazing upset to witness. But that is going to do it for today's hot takes. Again, let me know if you guys want to see another hot takes video before March Madness starts next week. We're going to keep coming with the college basketball March Madness coverage here on the channel. We're going to be live for Selection Sunday, so make sure you guys tune in for that. We'll be watching the reveal and also making our first brackets, so a lot of live streams, a lot of videos coming here in the next few weeks. Subscribe if you guys are new. And oh yeah, thank you guys for 3,000 subscribers. You guys are the best. Yeah guys, thank you so much for watching.